Hey everyone, it's me Bailey and welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm going to be recommending you some books to read this summer, and I love reading in the summer. I just feel like it's a whole different vibe in the summer, and I just feel like I always find some really good books for the summer. So I'm just going to be talking about some books that I've read that I feel like give a summer vibe and feel like would be perfect to read this summer. So they are kind of in categories but also kind of not in categories at the same time, because we have a few sports romance, we have some just like regular romance, we have some millionaire billionaire romance, we have some like contemporary / general fiction, as well as like one mystery thriller. Like I'm still very new to the mystery thriller genre, so there's only like one mystery thriller, but I figured I would include it on there just for funsies because it does give summer vibes. So with that being said, the first book that I'm going to recommend, okay, well I guess it's technically more than one book, but it is Truth or Tequila and Rain Out by Donna Schwartz. This is a companion series that follows these baseball players. So basically Truth or Tequila follows Seb and Sophie, and Sophie is having a like night out, and during this night out she ends up playing this game called Truth or Tequila, and it's basically just like Truth or Dare. And so you have to like either like tell the truth or like take a shot of tequila and like do a dare. And so in walks Seb into this club where Sophie is hanging out with her friends, and she is in the middle of Truth or Tequila, and she ends up going to kiss Seb, who happens to be like this like super big Major League Baseball player, and it just kind of follows them from there. And I believe Sophie ends up working for like the owner of the baseball team that Seb plays for, so she ends up running into him like on the field while she's working with like the owner or like the manager or something like that, and so they keep running into each other, and it's just like that kind of situation. I really enjoyed this book. I read it last summer. I read both of these books. And then Rain Out is like a companion novel to Truth or Tequila, and it follows some of the characters that you met in the first book, and these covers are just so fun, so summery. And like I've mentioned before, that baseball is my favorite sport to read about in the summer, just because I just feel like baseball is like a summer sport. So I love reading baseball romances in the summer. So I would recommend this if you're looking for a fun, quick read that is a sports romance. So the next books that I am going to recommend that you read this summer, if you have not read them, is the Knock 'Em Out series. It is a companion novel. The first one is Things We Never Got Over, and the second one is Things We Hide from the Light. And I definitely recommend Things We Never Got Over for the summer, but Things We Hide from the Light is also out and would be a fun summery read. These are sort of like romantic suspense sort of novels, and I definitely prefer the first one over the second one, but they're both still pretty good. And so if you're looking for sort of a romantic suspense novel, these two would be for you. They are romances with a like underlying plot of the mystery that's kind of going on, and the characters are trying to figure out what exactly is going on and how to like stop it. So I would recommend both of these books for the summer. The next books that I would recommend is another little series, and it is the Eden series by Devney Perry. There's currently 4 books out in the series. The first one is Indigo Ridge. This one is like a romantic suspense novel, just very similar to like Things We Never Got Over and Things We Hide from the Light, but these are a lot shorter than those. So if you're looking for something that's not going to be as long, then I definitely would recommend starting here. And each book follows a different sibling from the Eden family. So I really enjoyed all of these. Probably Garnet Flats is like my least favorite, just because the trope that's in it I didn't love, but overall definitely would recommend Indigo Ridge and Juniper Hill, and even Jasper Vale for the most part, but definitely the first 2 for sure. But this series is like just a short, quick read. Devney Perry's writing is so easy to get into, so easy to read. So I definitely would recommend the Edens if you are looking for a quick summer read. The next book that I want to recommend is Lease on Love by Fallon Ballard, and I feel like this book is not talked about enough. This book is seriously so good. It follows a woman named Sadie, and she has been passed up for a promotion, and she basically quits her job and decides that she wants to start a flower shop. And it takes place in New York, and you're just kind of following Sadie as she navigates this like life change of starting her own business and being jobless. She ends up going on a roommate app, but well, okay, so she thinks she's going on a dating app, but it ends up being a roommate app. And so she ends up meeting this guy, Jack, and she thinks she's on a date. He thinks that he is looking for a roommate, and so he offers to be her roommate. And so then she ends up moving in with Jack, and it's forced proximity. They end up falling in love, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this book. Read it in like one sitting. I feel like this book is not talked about enough. I just love this book so much. 5-star read for me. So good. So the next book that I'm going to recommend is Bet the Farm by Stacey Hart, and this is a small town romance following this girl Olivia, who has inherited a dairy farm, and she has one summer to save this dairy farm. But when she gets there, she's met with Jake, who is this like big grump, and he has inherited half of the dairy farm. So Olivia has inherited half and Jake has inherited half, and Jake is very grumpy, Olivia is very sunshiny. So it's basically about them trying to save this dairy farm and falling in love while in the process. This was really good. I really enjoyed this. I read this last summer and would definitely recommend you read it if you're looking for a book that takes place on a farm. I know that the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver has been very popular lately, so if you're looking for something that I'm assuming is going to be kind of the same vibe, then I would recommend this. I haven't read that series, so I'm not 100% sure, but if you're looking for like a farm kind of romance, then definitely check this out. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Love at First Spite, and this is a home renovation, get revenge on your ex type situation. So basically we're following Danny, and she is an interior designer who decides to buy the lot next to her ex-fiance's house, and she decides to build a vacation rental on this piece of land, and this vacation rental will mess with the ex-fiance's view and prove that Danny was not supposed to be someone that he was supposed to mess with. So she decides that she's going to team up with Wyatt, who is an architect at her firm that she works at, and he is a grump. He's very like grumpy, and so they basically spend time together building this house for her to get back at her ex, and in the process they end up falling in love. And this was a really fun read. I listened to this on audiobook last summer and really enjoyed it, and I haven't really heard much talk about it, but I really enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend it. The next book that I'm going to recommend has probably been talked about like 5 ways till Sunday, and that is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. And this is a second chance romance with a then and now timeline that follows Percy and Sam over their summers together, and Percy's family ends up getting a lake house next door to Sam, and it just kind of talks about how they spent their summer. And then it's like in the now timeline, and it's like 10 years in the future, and Sam's mom has died, and so Percy goes back to this town to go to the funeral, and her and Sam reconnect. I really enjoyed this. I read it earlier this year. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it for the most part. Sam is better than me. I will literally say that anytime I ever talk about this book is how much better Sam is than I would have been if I were in Sam's situation. But overall, I still really enjoyed this. I've heard that it's very similar to Love in Other Words, but I have not read that, so I can't really compare the two. But I really did enjoy Carly Fortune's writing, so I am hoping to read her new book that just came out. But if you have not read this book, then I definitely would recommend checking it out this summer. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren, and this was such a fun book. It is an adventure book that follows our main girl Lily, and her father was like this big adventurer who was set out to find this treasure. And so Lily takes tourists on these tours. They're like backpacking tours to look for this like lost treasure, until one day she is giving a tour and her ex ends up coming to take the tour, and things kind of take a turn for the weird, if you will, and things start happening happening and going wrong, and throughout this time Lily and her ex end up kind of reconnecting and sort of coming back together. And this book was so fun. It's an adventure story, so if you're looking for something that's going to be like adventurous and something that you might not expect coming, then I definitely would recommend this book for the summer. It takes place in like the desert, so just like hot, which fits the vibes, I feel like. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Close Quarters by Candy Steiner, and this is a travel book. It takes place where this girl is a photographer and she ends up going on a boat with her boyfriend at the time, and he is like a deckhand on this like private yacht, and she has gone with him to photograph. And while on this boat, basically our main girl starts having problems with her boyfriend, but is drawn to the like owner of this boat, and they start to kind of connect and they end up falling for each other, and some things happen with the ex, and he is like very just like sketchy and like not what you expected. But this is a fun travel romance that takes place in like Greece and like just a bunch of like different places. And so if you're looking for like a fun travel summery romance that has a yacht owner, then I would definitely recommend this book for you. The next book that I'm going to recommend is The Stopover by T.L. Swan, and this book basically follows these two people who meet on an airplane, and they spend one night together during a stopover and then expect to go their separate ways. But a year later, after the night that they spend together, our main girl ends up going in for her new job, and guess who is CEO? None other than the man that she spent the night with during that stopover a year ago. So it basically follows them from the night that they had the stopover and then a year later when they reconnect, and he is now her boss. So it is like a workplace romance, and he is very, very rich because he is the CEO of this company with his brother. And for some reason this book just gives me summer vibes. It has been a while since I've read this book. I want to say I read this book probably in like 2021, but I'm thinking I might have to read this book again this summer because for some reason it just like screams summer to me. So I'm thinking I might have to pick this one up again this summer. So the next two books I'm going to recommend are by the same author, but they're both standalones. So of course I feel like it wouldn't be a summer recommendation video without Miss Emily Henry being thrown in there. So I would like to recommend Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation. So first of all, Beach Read, it's literally in the name, but this follows January and Gus, and they are two authors who are like rivals in college, and January ends up going to her deceased father's beach house to spend the summer there to write, where she runs into Gus while she is there, and they end up having like this bet to see if they can switch genres. And Gus writes like occult fiction and January writes romance, so they basically decide to switch genres and see how the other one does with the other person's genre. And I read this a long time ago, like so long ago, and I want to reread it because I feel like I didn't love it a whole lot the first time I read it, and I think that's because I listened to it on audiobook, and so I would like to actually physically read it and give it another chance. But a lot of people love this book, and I'm a big fan of Emily Henry's writing, so I definitely want to give this one a try again because everything else that I've read by Emily Henry I've really enjoyed. So I think I just like missed the mark on this one, so I definitely would like to retry this book and give it another read. But I still would recommend it if you are looking for a book that takes place during the summer and has like beachy kind of vibes. Following that, we also have People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and this follows Poppy and Alex, and Poppy writes for this like travel blog. So she is always going on vacation, and she takes Alex with her because when they were in college, every summer they would like spend together and they would go on a vacation until something happens and they stop talking to each other. So Poppy decides that on this vacation that she's taking for work, she's dragging Alex along to see if they can try and reconcile what happened all those years ago. And yeah, so it's basically a then and now timeline, and it follows their vacations from when they were younger to the vacation that they are in the present timeline. And I really enjoyed this. A lot of people say that this is their least favorite Emily Henry book, but I out of the 3 that I've read, I would say this is my second favorite. So I definitely would recommend this if you're looking for just like a read that screams like summer and like vacation and like beachy vibes and things like that. So definitely would recommend this if you're looking for something like that. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this is a book that follows these 4 siblings who throw this massive party in Malibu every summer, and this year there is this huge fire that happens, and basically you are trying to figure out what happens that is going to lead up to this fire. And this book is so good. I listened to it on audiobook. It has a then now timeline, and it follows the 4 siblings during the day of the party as well as their parents back when they were like younger. And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really good. I listened to it on audiobook and had a really good time reading it. So obviously the cover, they're sitting on surfboards, takes place in Malibu. I feel like couldn't get more summery than this. The last book that I'm going to be talking about for this video is the one and only mystery thriller that I have on here, and I'm actually currently in the middle of it, and that is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. This is a mystery thriller that takes place in the Outer Banks. So they are staying in this beach house for a week, and it follows the survivors of a van crash that crashed into like this ravine. So everyone died except for 9 of them, and then a year later another one dies. So then they all decided they're going to meet up for 1 week every summer in the Outer Banks at this beach house to just check in on each other and make sure that everyone is okay. And then people keep dying, so it's basically just trying to figure out what happened, why everyone has started dying all of a sudden after all of these years. I'm currently in the middle of this. For the most part, I'm enjoying it, and I see myself finishing this pretty soon, but I feel like it gives like beachy vibes, so that's why I want to recommend it. I haven't finished it yet, so I can't tell you whether or not it's like fantastic or not, but based on the vibe, I'm recommending it. So that is going to be it for my summer recommendation. I mainly just recommended books based on vibes, but I feel like anytime I recommend books, it's like basically based on vibes. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are planning on reading any of these books, I would love to know down in the comments, or if you have read any of these books, I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to chat with you about them in the comments. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. I will have all of my social medias linked down in the description, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.